A pregnant woman here in Tacoma was attacked by two dogs last Thursday. The dogs were taken into protective custody, and the mother went into labor here at Tacoma General Hospital. Good news is her little boy, Armani, is just fine. He has been able to go home, but the mother is still here at the hospital recovering from severe dog bites and potential infections as well. The Tacoma Animal Control branch of the Tacoma Police Department did seize the animals. They've been declared as dangerous. Those owners have about another week or so to contest that. If they don't contest it, those dogs will be put down. It sounds like they got out of a backyard through a broken fence post that apparently the owners knew about, according to investigators.
Has the World Cup been a win for every Seattle neighborhood? One community leader says not yet. I'm Bethany on the King News Desk. And while Seattle leaders celebrate record crowds and transit ridership, the executive director for the China International District says those economic benefits have not been shared equally.
I want to be honest. The economic benefits have not been equal across all our neighborhoods. We've seen a 10% increase in foot traffic overall, and post-match windows have been incredible. But that energy has been concentrated, and businesses further from the stadium corridor, like those in Little Saigon and the Central District, are not seeing that same lift. So I want everyone who discovered the neighborhood during the World Cup to keep coming back long after the final whistle, but also we need that same energy to reach every corner of the CID.
As Seattle heads into the knockout rounds, she's hoping more fans venture beyond the stadium and help spread the economic impact across the entire neighborhood.
Yes, George Kirby was smiling. He goes from just pure anger as he's getting that final strikeout with 2 ons, Furious George, but then he's smiling in the dugouts. They did a little tunnel for him. He was sharp 8 innings on the mound.
I mean, how could he not be smiling? It was the best he's looked all season. Second time going 8 innings this year. I think this was the more impressive win, though. Gave up a few early runs, 7 strikeouts, 1 walk, and he battled rather than got rattled. So I think that was really what kind of separated this one.
I like that. Battled rather than got rattled. I think 1 walk, only 1 walk. That has been kind of his calling card before this season. He struggled a little bit with that this year, but only giving up that 1 walk was huge. 100 pitches on the dot. He says when he left the 7th inning, he wasn't sure if he was going to go out there for the 8th inning. He had no conversations with Dan Wilson. He went to do his normal routine, came back out, and Dan said, go finish it.
And that was a great decision by Dan and the pitching staff because obviously he was feeling it. He was still throwing okay. Only with 100 pitches. We've seen plenty more than that. But also, we saw how the bullpen imploded the night before. They needed to get through this one as far as possible with their starting pitcher.
We have breaking news this morning. The Supreme Court has ruled states can ban transgender girls and women from competing in school sports teams. This just adds to the conservative majority's track record of ruling against transgender Americans. This time, the ruling is for cases that originated from Idaho and West Virginia. It involves 16-year-old Becky Pepper Jackson from West Virginia, who sued to compete in school sports as a girl. She's identified as a girl since she was 8 years old and also has a birth certificate recognizing her as a girl. The other person involved is Boise State student Lindsay Hecox, who wanted to try out for her college's cross-country team as female. More than 24 states have similar bans, and today's ruling is expected to reinforce those laws.
But that's going to end up costing us like $300.
This is not an opposites attract situation. It's a perfect match, literally.
We met coaching soccer in 2005 when we were both home from our freshman year of college. We were coaching for Skyhawks.
But it would be 15 years until Brooke Marriott and Landon Moeller reconnected.
We saw each other again for the first time at Snoqualmie Falls, which is a place that's really special to both of us. And it was amazing to see somebody after so long and think, oh, this is exactly the person I remember him being.
No drama, no red cards, and the pair is set to be married soon. The goal on this roster is making memories at every World Cup since they've been together.
I'm just a big fan of traveling in soccer, and so is she. And so when she heard about it, there was no question about it. She was coming. So I don't think that you ever didn't.
It was not a hard sell.
This World Cup couple has made 7 matches in 2 weeks. LA for US versus Paraguay, Vancouver for Australia versus Turkey, Seattle for Belgium versus Egypt, Dallas for England versus Croatia, then a stop to their current home in Denver before heading back to Vancouver for New Zealand versus Egypt, and a return to Seattle for Bosnia and Herzegovina versus Qatar and Egypt versus Iran. That familiar face in their photos at a Seattle Stadium match is King 5's own Rich Marriott catching up with his daughter Brooke. It costs money to make plans like this, but they have zero regrets.
We talk a lot about the fact that at the end of our life, we won't ever remember what something cost, but we will remember all of these incredible experiences that we've had together.
They kick off their marriage in Northern Ireland on July 18th, and it too coincides with World Cup magic.
The World Cup final is the weekend of our wedding, so we'll be having a watch party the day after our wedding. So we've incorporated the World Cup into the wedding weekend as well. But we're just so excited to have our family and friends come and join us in Northern Ireland and get to share our love of travel and maybe force our love of soccer on some of our guests.
21 years since they first met, Brooke and Landon's love story is full time.
Track the tropics, the Atlantic side of things are pretty quiet. We had one little disturbance off the coast of the Carolinas. Looks like it's going to ingest a lot of dry air and essentially die. So all is calm and quiet on that side. As we take a look at the Pacific Ocean, things continue to heat up. We could be looking at our next tropical depression as early as tonight or tomorrow. If this continues to strengthen, this would become Tropical Storm Douglas, by the way. That is next on the list. However, right now it is going to be moving north and then eventually northwest. So maybe eventually we'll get into some watches and warnings for the Hawaiian Islands. As of right now, it's just in the process of strengthening and will likely move into an environment that may allow it to strengthen a little bit more as it continues to eventually move toward the northwest. Nonetheless, there's a quick update on the tropics. We will continue to watch all of it on all of the oceans and keep you updated as we go.
The Supreme Court said today it will also decide whether cities and states can ban people from owning AR-15 rifles and similar semi-automatic weapons. It had previously declined to take up the major Second Amendment issue. One of the appeals involves two Illinois residents who say they can't own AR-15 style rifles because of a local ordinance. Another is from residents of Connecticut who are impacted by the state's ban. 10 states have similar bans in place. In Washington state, a law signed in 2023 bans the sale, the manufacture, and import of dozens of specific semi-automatic firearms, including the AR-15 and AK-47.
In a 6-3 decision, the Supreme Court upheld birthright citizenship today. This means that the Supreme Court is affirming that anybody who was born in the United States is automatically a U.S. citizen, regardless of whether their parents are or not. Back in January of 2025, when President Trump took office for the second time, one of his first executive orders was to get rid of birthright citizenship. And then shortly after, 3 pregnant mothers from Washington State and King County sued the Trump administration for this because they were worried about the citizenship status in the future of their 3 unborn children. Today, we talked to the attorney from the Northwest Immigrant Rights Project, who was one of the attorneys representing the 3 pregnant women, and he said that he was very happy about this decision and that the 3 pregnant women are no longer pregnant. They have 3 U.S. citizen babies. The scope of this is interesting too. According to Pew Research, back in 2023, 9% of all U.S. births were to mothers who were either not of legal status or were here in the U.S. temporarily.
It is actually crazy to think that June is almost over and July is just about here. July 1st is on Wednesday, so as we look forward, let's also take a look back and look at what June brought for us. So June was a little bit of a mixed bag, which is normal. June is a shoulder season. We're transitioning out of the cool and wet months and heading into those dry, warm months, and that's exactly what we saw. It was a pretty drastic swing as far as our highs were concerned each day. The coolest high that we felt in the month of June at SeaTac was 62 degrees. In fact, we did that multiple times. The warmest high we felt was 91 degrees. In fact, we surpassed 90 degrees twice in the month of June, which is significant because we typically only hit 90 degree 3 times each calendar year. So to do it twice that early in the season doesn't necessarily bode well for what's to come the rest of this season.
Washington drivers will start paying a little more at the pump tomorrow. The state's gas tax is going up by over a penny per gallon, rising from 55.4 to 56.5 cents. The 2% increase is an automatic inflation adjustment required under a state law passed last year. It comes as gas prices are falling in Washington. The current average at $5.16 per gallon. That is down 3 cents from yesterday and 16 cents from a week ago.
Well, check this out. For the first time in nearly 3 decades, the Woodland Park Zoo is welcoming a new colobus monkey. The birth happened earlier this month, June 15th. The baby, whose sex has not been determined yet, is the second offspring from Mom Mokiki. Zoogoers can see the new baby monkey with Mom Mokiki and Dad Lewis in the outdoor section of the Tropical Rainforest Loop.
Boeing will begin contract negotiations with its engineers tomorrow. Talks with the Society of Professional Engineering Employees in Aerospace, or SPEA, will take place at locations in the Seattle area. This is the first full contract negotiation with Boeing in 14 years. A contract extension was approved in 2020. The current contracts expire at the beginning of October. The union represents more than 16,000 employees in the Pacific Northwest.
Stop doing this. It hurts families. It hurts business owners. It's not free stuff. It hurts my employees, and it just makes it so much harder to keep this business going. It's frustrating. We don't want to be going through this. We just want to be open. We want to make coffee for people, and it's getting hard for all the local businesses.
We're having coffee with our breaking news this morning because the U.S. Supreme Court just ruled in a majority conservative opinion that transgender athletes should, in fact, be banned from playing in youth sports in America. The court upholding 2 laws, one in West Virginia, one in Idaho, which have enacted a ban on transgender athletes. The conservative majority, Justice Kavanaugh, writing the dissent, saying although these individuals should be banned, they should still command respect, whether transgender or not. What does this mean in Washington state? We don't obviously know yet. Not only is this ruling brand new, but we also have really no indication of how things are going to play out here. What you likely see with these kinds of opinions at this sort of level is more legislation in states like Washington. Conservatives in Olympia may try to enact some kind of a law which makes it definitive and bans transgender athletes in Washington state sports. We'll have yet to see. But some 27 states in America have already tried to enact similar bans. All of them have conservative legislatures in their state. So that is not something you see here in Washington. So there you go. Breaking news, latest from the Supreme Court when it comes to transgender youth athletes, a ruling we've been waiting for a while.
A deadly parasite that can infect dogs and potentially humans has established itself in the Pacific Northwest. That is according to a study by Washington State University. The fox tapeworm can spread to dogs and humans through contact with feces or feces-contaminated soil. In rare cases, it can cause a disease that mimics liver cancer. Scientists say there are specific ways you can protect your dog.
The best way you can protect your dog is to try to discourage behaviors such as eating poop. And, routine veterinary care is a great way to keep your dog protected. That should include diagnostic tests for parasites that vets can perform.
The parasite is widespread in coyotes in the Puget Sound area.
Sign these for me?
Can you do 2 of them? You do 1 for me and 1 for Julio? Make it 3. Signature. Oh, you need 3. You got 3 signatures in you?
You signed some already? Is it cool if I have one?
Just about every card that said pitcher, I was asking for tips.
It says you're a pitcher, is that right? I'm a pitcher too. You got any tips for me?
They were kind of keeping all their secrets to themselves. I didn't really get anything.
What was your favorite part?
Giving Julio Rodriguez one.
and I gave him a limited edition.
It's really cool. Just getting to meet the kids and hang out with them, say a few words, and I feel like they're encouraging us just as much as we are them. But just the perspective that comes along with this is huge, and trying to be a light and hopefully say one positive thing that can make their day.
Prosecutors have decided not to file charges against 2 drivers involved in a state trooper's death last year. In December, Trooper Tara Marissa Guting was hit by a car on Highway 509 near Tacoma. That driver pulled over before she was hit by a second car, which took off. The first driver told police he didn't see her due to the dark and rainy conditions. When police tracked down the second driver, he told them he thought he hit a pothole, not a person. The medical examiner also could not determine which impact killed Trooper Guting. And because of all of this, prosecutors say they cannot prove beyond a reasonable doubt that either driver committed a crime.
Pacific Place in downtown Seattle has a new exhibit. It's kind of scary. Tell me more.
It's really scary, Kelly. It is called Mind of a Serial Killer, and we are getting inside the minds of a lot of serial killers, including University of Washington's very own Ted Bundy, Gary Ridgway. So there is a Seattle connection, and we are getting inside the minds of these serial killers so we can make sure that we don't become a killer or get killed.
Oh, yes. And you know what? I feel like with that, we should just stop there.
That right there.
Go see it. Tease.
Go see it.
The home is a total loss. What's left is this red danger tape, this fence surrounding the property, and you can still see that extensive damage and even smell some of that charred too. And if you just look up there, well, that's the roof. That's where at least 6 people had to jump to get out in this story of survival. Now, this all started around 5 o'clock Saturday morning at Rabbi Shalom's home. Rabbi Mordecai, who works with him at the Eastside Torah Center, says Shalom, his wife, and 2 of their children were sleeping on the main floor when they woke up to heavy smoke. The family was also housing 7 summer counselors for a teen camp, 6 of them upstairs. Shalom, his family, and 1 counselor made it out, but he ran back inside to get the others. He suffered burns to his hands and smoke inhalation before coming back out again as the fire continued to rage. Trapped upstairs, the 6 counselors were able to escape through second-floor windows.
He actually asked a question to the rabbi, and he says his message is, first of all, a message of thanks, appreciating the fact that you can see, because his eyes were covered for 3 days. You can see, you can move, you are alive. Waking up in the morning to say, thank you, Almighty God, for giving me back another day, to make the day the best you can, and mainly to spread the world with goodness and kindness. This is the message.
Well, the rabbi and his family and the counselors are all staying at other homes within the Jewish community. Meanwhile, there is an online fundraiser that's already raised more than $380,000.
You're down for Yakima, correct? No.
Oh, yeah, sorry. We're westbound 96 from Yakima, about 30 miles an hour. Looking for a pit here. Wonderful pit here.
This is a real miracle of survival. I am very happy and very encouraged because we're really celebrating a miracle. I look at them as survivors. They went straight to the window, managed to jump down from the top floor, and thank God, physically, nobody was injured except some bruises and cuts. You can see, you can move, you are alive. Waking up in the morning to say, thank you, Almighty God, for giving me back another day, to make the day the best you can, and mainly to spread the world with goodness and kindness. This is the message.
At Seattle City Hall, council members unanimously vote on a public safety measure. This has to do with the traffic that's been happening around Aurora Avenue. There's been some public safety concerns in that area. Specifically in May, they saw an 8% increase in shots fired. And there was some neighbors there who decided to build their own barrier to block traffic along North 97th Street, where it connects with Aurora Avenue. They said their concerns were about gunfire in the area, worried that it would hit people or homes. So that's why they put that barrier up. Well, that got the city's attention. They took down that homemade barrier, but did put in some temporary barriers. Those have been in place for several days now. And today the council voted to expand the SDOT director's power. Now, SDOT can consult with police when there's a lot of criminal activity in the area. If they want to put in some temporary barriers, this council vote allows them to do that.
It looks like good news headed away for the 4th of July this year. The weather's going to cooperate. In fact, as you're settling in for the afternoon, find a spot to watch the fireworks. Look for plenty of sunshine, high temperatures in the low to mid 70s during the afternoon. Cooling during the evening, staying mostly in the 70s. And when the fireworks get underway, most places a little after 10 when the sky finally gets dark, we're going to be looking for mostly clear skies, maybe a couple of clouds passing through. Temperatures mostly in the mid 60s, but cooling to the low 60s by the end of the evening, so you might need to take a sweatshirt with you for the end of the evening as you're heading on home. But overall, it looks like a great looking 4th of July headed away this year.